Some buyers think waiting saves them money, but what if waiting actually costs them thousands? The scripting question you ask them back is, what happens financially if you were to wait 2 years? And the longer they wait, the more they're potentially leaving on the table. Let's say someone's in a $500,000 price point. If it's 3%, every year they wait, that's $15,000 in appreciation that they're losing. That means in 2 years, they just lost $30,000. And that's before you even account for the equity they're not building. Every year that they stay in a rental, how much equity do they gain? $0. Opportunity cost, understanding what it is when it comes to buyers and sellers, clients, but also how it affects you when it comes to being a realtor. So this is kind of twofold as far as what we're talking about today. Who's getting a lot of buyers that are saying, hey, I think I'm gonna wait till the market corrects some, or rates are too high, or I gotta wait for prices to come down, or whatever it may be. We're getting that more than ever. And part of the problem and part of the issue and the reason we're getting that is because affordability has just become difficult, hasn't it? Right? There's a lot of people that don't have enough down payment money. There's a lot of people that even if they have some down payment money, they're finding that their debt to income ratios are just too tight to get pre-approved. So we're dealing with people just getting denied in general. We're getting a lot of denials, which sucks. There's not much we can do about that. But unfortunately, what's happening is some of the people that are actually getting pre-approved are then coming in and saying, hey, you know what? I think I'm still just gonna wait because of XYZ reason. So I want you guys to be prepared to be able to have those conversations, to be able to push people along. So what we're talking about today is to explain simply what opportunity cost is for people, to get them in the right mental, because a lot of these people, they're in rentals. They maybe never bought a house before. They maybe don't have much in the way of investing. Maybe they're not really saving a lot of money. And if they are, it's probably not a ton of money. So we want to get them thinking into a long-term thinking about what they actually get when they purchase a house, the benefits that come from that, and how that affects them tomorrow and years in the future, rather than just the payment, right? Because so many people are just coming in and saying, I don't want that payment. They would rather pay XYZ for rent than have to come in and maybe pay a couple $100 more for a house. And it used to not be that way, right? I've been in this for 10 years. It used to be that as long as we could get people pre-approved, typically their mortgages would be less than what they were paying on rent. That's what it used to be like. Nowadays, it's not really the case. It actually is more expensive typically to own than it is to rent nowadays. But when we start talking to people about opportunity costs, we start to really get the idea with these people that they're still much better off paying the extra mortgage payment because of the benefits that come with it. We're going to talk about the hidden costs, right? What waiting actually affects, their equity, their appreciating, the compounding time. And we're going to learn how to advise these people properly, because the idea is most homeowners, most first-time home buyers, they're just comparing the payment to their rent. That's it. So we want to show them what is the outcome if they wait. So every single renter that you're talking to right now really hits a fork in the road. Do I just keep renting because things have gotten so expensive, or do I try to run down this path and buy, right? So the opportunity cost is what you give up when you choose one option over another. Every decision you make financially, right, puts you on a path with an outcome coming up. And unfortunately, so many people over the last 4, 5, 6 years have said, I'm gonna wait till the rates come down, I'm gonna wait till the prices come down. And unfortunately, by waiting to buy, it means giving up things like equity growth. It means giving up appreciation in a property. It means giving up the mortgage pay down during that period, right? Cash and savings, keeping liquid cash really doesn't do anything for you. So again, even as a realtor, when we think about saving up cash, how much are you saving? Is it just sitting in a savings account? Is it sitting in a low interest account? That's an opportunity loss. So sometimes people think if I'm saving money, then I'm doing good. But the opportunity cost is that really, is the US dollar going up in value if it's sitting in a savings account? Heck no. In fact, with inflation the way it is, every dollar you have is losing money every second that it sits in a savings account. So we start thinking about the opportunity cost of what happens if I don't start investing this money? If I just keep saving and do nothing with it, what is the actual cost that I give up by not doing affording something. We're gonna break that down. So when you're talking to most people on the phone and you're scripting, what are most buyers asking? Can I afford this? You start talking to them, have you gotten pre-approved? What's your down payment? When are you looking to move? How much do you want to spend monthly? And the reality is all that buyer wants to know is, can I afford this mortgage payment? That's really naturally what everybody focuses on, because life is hard right now anyway. So most people are just focusing on, what are my bills gonna be? What is the immediate tangible number that you can tell me? And then they typically make an emotional decision based on that. Hey, I want a $400,000 house. Great. Well, that's gonna cost you about $2,500 a month right now with a down payment. Oh, too much. I'm out. I don't want to do that. But it's much bigger than that. So when someone pushes you and says, well, can I afford that payment? I don't know. That seems really high. I think I want to wait a couple years. I think I'm going to wait till I save some more capital, right? The scripting question you ask them back is, well, what happens financially if you were to wait 2 years? It's not, can you afford it right this second? Because most people that are putting it off can afford it. They just don't know if they want to afford it, right? You're not talking about the guy that cannot get pre-approved. That is not for this guy. His opportunity cost is nothing because he can't buy a house. It's the people that are saying, I think I want to buy, I'm able to buy, but should I just wait? Well, what happens if you wait 2 years? Reframe the conversation. That's going to shift it to the affordability, to the consequences of them waiting. So if they start thinking through the options, talk about these things. Well, if they say, I don't know, if I wait 2 years, maybe the rates will come down. Okay, great. But what if the interest rates don't come down the way you're thinking? What if home prices continue to rise? Do you think that home prices are going to go down? If rates continue to come down, or if they come down, what happens to home prices? What's going to happen to your rent if you wait 2 years? Do you think that your rent's going to go down in a year and again in 2 years? Well, no, most likely it's already baked into your lease. Most likely you already have a 6, 7, 8, 9% lease adjustment happening every year automatically. So that's going to go up. What about equity growth? In 2 years, if the market was to appreciate 3 to 4%, what kind of equity are you losing out on by continuing to rent? So have you ever had a client wait and then later they wish they hadn't waited? How long have you been in the business? I guarantee you, if you've been in this business more than a couple years, and definitely if you've been in for many years, you've had tons of clients that have said, man, I really wish I had it just bought when you told me to buy a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And the reality is the only time in history that it would have been bad to buy was 08, 09, 2010. That's it. Those are the only 3 years. Even in the other depressions, the other recessions, the other downturns, property values still rose, albeit a small percent, maybe 1% a year, 0.5% a year, 1.5% a year. The only bad years in real estate in history were 08, 9, and 10. I bought a house in 2009. It was my first house I bought. When I bought that house, I ended up selling it 5 years later at a loss or a $5,000 check to get out. If I factored in a lot of this opportunity cost of the write-offs I got with the mortgage on just the taxes that I wrote off and things like that, I maybe lost a little bit of money, but it wasn't crazy. And that house that I bought for $165 in 2009 just sold for like $380. So if I had have kept it, would I have been in a bad position? No, I still would have over doubled my money, right? So you have to be able to talk to these people. That was the worst time in history. The reality is most people are buying and the values are going to continue to go up. So you want to be able to break this down to them and break it down to them in tangible numbers. What has your market appreciated to over the last couple years? I'd say it's 3 to 5%. And if you wanted to go on the low end, 3 is good. And again, 3 is going to be on a normal market. If you think about this, if you go back to like COVID times, you go back to 2021, 2022, you had these same people saying, I'm going to wait. And do you remember what the appreciation was back then? It was anywhere from 10 to 20% a year. So someone would say, man, prices for this house that were 300, now it's 330. I'm going to wait till next year when it crashes. Well, guess what? The next year it was 370. The next year it was 410. Those were on big appreciation years. But even on a normal appreciation year, if it's 3% on the low end, every year they wait, let's say someone's in a $500,000 price point, that's $15,000 in appreciation that they're losing. That means in 2 years, they just lost $30,000. So not only did their net worth not grow by $30,000 by waiting 2 years on a 3% appreciation, but if they choose to now come into the market in 2 years, now what do they have to do? Now they're actually having to pay $30,000 more for that same house. So if they had a bought, not only would they be $30,000 richer on paper in net worth, but if they wait that 2 years, now they have an extra $180 on their mortgage at at current rates. So if they're already payment conscious, have that conversation. Whatever their price point is, hey, you're looking at a $400,000 home, that's great. If we have a 3 to 4% appreciation over the next 2 years, we're gonna have to spend another $25,000. So if you're not comfortable with your payment right now at $2,600, are you gonna be comfortable in 2 years when it's at $2,800? Have that conversation. Then you start talking to them about lost equity. Every year that they stay in a rental, how much equity do they gain? $0. You have to have this conversation with these people that are trying to push back and wait, right? So if you're spending $1,900 a month on rent, whatever that comes to a year, about 21 grand, a little under that, you are not getting any of that money back ever. That money is getting sunk in and it is gone. On a mortgage, we're at least paying down the principal. So if we have a $400,000 house and it's gaining 3 to 4% a year, that is 12 to whatever $1,000, anywhere from 12 to 15 grand, whatever that comes out to, right? In addition, they're gonna end up paying off about $3,500 to $4,000 in principal each year. So you tack that on. Maybe you do a spreadsheet. Maybe you show them this so they can see these numbers. But if they're doing a $4,000 pay down, what is that per month? $300? So look at the delta difference. What are they paying in rent? If they're paying 2 grand in rent and they're like, I don't want to buy because I'm gonna have to spend $2,300, can you just show them that that $300 difference is going towards their principal? They're essentially saving it. It's going into the wealth of their home. Then you tack on the appreciation. You say, okay, and if your property's worth an extra 15, 16, 17, 18 grand a year, what does that equate to? Well, that's $1,500 a month that you're saving. Are you currently saving $1,500 a month in your rental right now? No? Okay, well, this is free appreciation. Then you start thinking about the higher rent paid. Hey, 2 years ago, what were you paying in rent? What about 5 years ago? What about 8 years ago, 10 years ago? Why are you even looking at buying a house, right? Because rent has gotten so unsustainably expensive. So you talk to them about that. And then lost time. Compounding only works if you start. It's the same thing with investing. We've talked about this on investment calls before. I love making people play with compounding calculators. If you were to put $1,000 into the S&P 500, an average return of like 9%, in 50 years, what is that money worth? It's actually between 70 and 80,000. That's the power of compounding. So the problem is most people don't start investing early. They start investing late in life. But the problem is all of that interest, all of that growth comes at the end because of the compound. Now, I always say this again, this is kind of a side tangent on that, but like if you had a kid, the smartest thing you could ever do for your kid would be to take like 10 grand and throw it into the S&P 500 into an ETF for him the second he's born and not even touch it. Because that means that 10 grand at retirement is worth about $700,000 to $800,000, and that's at 50. He doesn't retire till he's 63. So if you just started the retirement account, you put it in, that 10 grand would likely be worth $1.2 million, $1.3 million when he retires out. You would never have to do anything for your kid again. You realize that, like, even if you were a failure in life and you didn't have anything to leave them, right? When they got to retirement age, they would still have 7 figures in the bank if you just put 10 grand in at birth and you never put anything else in. These are the kinds of things that you talk to people about, investors, that you talk to people about buying houses. What does your IRA look like? What does your wealth look like? What does your net worth look like, right? This house is probably the first thing that someone's gonna buy that will actually start building value when people are saying, hey, I don't save that much money. I live in an apartment. I don't donate to retirement that much. I'm going through this with a client right now that literally is trying to sell a house and move back into an apartment to take their $50,000, $60,000 in equity. And I keep telling them, I'm like, guys, if you move over here to save $200 or $300 in rent, are you really gonna save that $200 or $300 a month into an actual IRA that's investing, right? And the answer is no. But I did the math on the appreciation. I'm like, you're already making $12,000 to $15,000 a year in appreciation and your pay down. So I was like, are you going to be able to sell this house and save $20,000 in cash per year? And the answer is like an obvious no. So even certain people trying to sell their homes because of this logic. You may think this sounds simple. It is not simple to most people. You have to get them to understand these numbers. And a lot of these people are going to try to wait if you don't help them understand these numbers. Thank you so much for tuning in to one of our weekly training calls. Obviously, you caught the recorded session, but if you're interested in catching any of our live sessions that we do them typically on Mondays. I'm going to put the link below. So if you want to join any of our trainings live so that you can participate, so you can comment, ask questions, feel free to come. This is for our EXP group that we have here, our Omega group of agents, but it's open to anybody that wants to join, really. So if you're looking for coaching, if you're looking for training, feel free to hit that link below, and we'll see you on one of our live calls.